Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to some more StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void. Today I am playing a game against a buddy of mine and I'm going to be showing you the Liberator, a unit that got added to the game yesterday. This is going to be the final unit for Legacy of the Void expansion, and it's going to be, besides the Cyclone, the second unit I suppose that Terran will have in the expansion. So when I first heard about the Liberator, I obviously heard about the fact that it does splash damage to air and that it does high single target damage. Now I was not completely sure how I like the concept of it, but playing against it a couple times and playing around it a couple times as well, it is an interesting unit, to say the least. It does seem pretty cool, and it does seem to have a lot of use, and a couple things that I noticed right off the bat is that the unit moves very quickly. It has very high attack speed, and on top of that, you can actually also make the unit you know, two at a time. You can pump them out of a reactor, which I'm building right here. I'm already getting out the Starport here as well. And you can actually produce two out of, you know, a single Starport at a single time. Now, by default, they will not have the upgrade to be attacking the ground. So basically, you know, I will be switching it over right now, and I will start two of those guys in the production. You can see them right here, 150 minerals, 150 gas. We'll go over the cost in a second. But by default, they will only be having the air upgrade. They can't do anything but that. In order to actually get the ground upgrade, we need to research an upgrade that you can get out of a Techlab with a Starport. So basically, you have to switch out the Starport with a Techlab, get the research, and obviously it can go back to a reactor. So while you can pump out two at a time, you can't actually do it very efficiently at all. In reality, what it seems to be like in most of the games is that you need to actually make sure that you get a couple bases going just for, you know, just for the amount that we got. So here they are, and look how fast they are. They are very fast. Now, oftentimes in the actual game, you will see them in combination with something like, you know, something like Hellions, just because, you know, you need this much gas to actually produce them. Now, in the meantime, I'm gonna produce two more, and after that, I will show you the actual upgrade. Now, the anti-air damage is actually splash. Right now, as you can see, this the AG mode, I guess that's what it's called, is actually grayed out. So, you know, if I try and go over here, well, I see an Overlord. You can see it does reasonable amounts of damage, and it's going to be pretty reasonable at picking it off, but I cannot be killing that queen. That queen does not do very much right now, but I gotta, you know, I gotta make sure I get out of that. So obviously I can micro it like that and pick off a unit, but it's really not that exciting as far as the anti-air goes. It's gonna be great, obviously, versus units that clump up together, such as Mutalisks, such as Phoenixes, such as Void Rays, and all these kind of things. Yeah, you can see the splash right here, right? It is a pretty substantial amount of splash, and things go down very rapidly. But the single target damage to air is not that great. So that's actually a whole bunch of them gone. Let's see how much damage we can do. And you can see the Mutalisks are fast. Mutas are known to be very fast, and while I can't attack and move at the same time, you can still see the amount of damage they do is pretty substantial. If you get a couple of these guys out, I am sure that you will be able to go ahead and just beat them straight up. So big group of Mutalisk. Let's see if we can kill them. Gonna try and micro my way back. And yeah, the splash damage right now is pretty crazy. If you actually micro backwards, obviously the Mutalisks tend to clump up. So, you know, there's definitely a lot of good uses for a unit like this. Now, what we can do though is actually switch this guy over. If we have a quick look, the first thing that I saw when you try and research the thing is that you actually can't. You gotta get an armory with this as well. So while you can get the unit out relatively early on, and while you can make it pretty early in the game, you know, you can simply just make a Starport and start pumping two at a time. They're not going to be very useful until you actually get the upgrade out. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to be researching the Liberator AG mode. And this is actually a long upgrade as well. Compared to the other ones, it's a little bit longer. But let me showcase you the actual upgrade. So right here, I right now have the option to put them in AG mode. And what happens is basically this circle pops up. And I need to choose where I want them to attack. And what happens is that when something enters this little circle, they will be able to start attacking into it. But at the same time, right now, I cannot move them around at all. So, you know, on top of that, they obviously also cannot be hitting any kind of air at all. So, it's an interesting decision that you have to make. It takes quite a while to switch over. And if Mutalisk would obviously swoop in right now, I would be in a lot of trouble. Gonna be moving towards the middle of the map right now. See if I can find any Zerglings to showcase you the amount of damage that it will actually be able to do. Now, keep in mind, this is actually gonna be a single target sort of thing. So, but here we go. So one of them, or three of them right now are going to be in that mode. And here's what happens. It's pretty slow. It does immediately kill them. And on top of that, we have a nice little option to go ahead and harass a mineral line. So let's say we're out here in the dead space, and my opponent can't really be reaching me. Let's say he doesn't have Mutalisk right now. I can basically start sieging away at these kind of mineral lines. And the range on it is pretty reasonable. It's pretty okay. So obviously, you know, you can basically deny mining time just like that for quite a while. But then again, if Mutalisk are already out on the board, I would be absolutely terrified of moving out like that. So once again, just as an harass squad, okay, this would actually be like a real game scenario, I suppose. You move in with these guys, try and get them into like a high ground where they're not really being able to get spotted, and then you can actually start sieging away at mineral lines like that. And that is really what they are going to be useful for. So it's basically like a strong anti-air unit, but on top of that, you can also, you know, have some good harassment options with it as well, if used correctly. So one important thing to note as well is that this ability does not target buildings. So for example, right here, there's a hatchery, right? I can be sieging up. It won't even like attack any of these, you know, any of these things. As soon as something pops up, or as soon as a larva pops up, it will actually attack it. But it's not a thing that you can, you know, use to kill buildings. It's only gonna be versus units. Alright, so here they are up against a couple of roaches. Gonna be sitting them down right here. It's only 4 of them, or 5 or so of them. And if I actually decide to target fire down on the roaches, you can see the damage on it is pretty insane. Let's actually make them stop attacking for a little bit, get one of them going, so we can really see the amount of damage it does. So this is only going to be a single Liberator up against roaches right here. The damage on it is pretty reasonable. Obviously, roaches will start moving, however, and, you know, that's true for pretty much every single unit in the game. So, it seems good. It seems pretty reasonable. There's a lot of cool things that you can do with this, and it seems that, you know, you have a lot of decisions to make. If you're not positioning yourself correctly, you're obviously going to be going immediately down. So the Liberator, very powerful unit if used correctly, but if you make one little mistake, it is gonna go down. It's pretty flimsy, and while it does move very fast, if you're actually sieged up, obviously you're not going to be able to get away in time from pretty much anything. Even a spore crawler will kill it if you are going to be in range. Now, on top of that, they will be great at dealing splash damage, but I think they will especially shine if you get them in combination of other units. So, for example, the Battlecruiser has got a new ability as well called Tactical Jump. You can obviously very easily use that in combination with the Liberator. On top of that, you can add on Banshees to this, you know, this sort of unit as well, giving this a really strong you know, presence, especially later on in the game. Now, one important thing to note as well is that the armory now once again has the upgrade split up. So there's not like, you know, one upgrade anymore for attack and one for armor. You actually need to either decide that you go for ship weapons or for vehicle weapons right here. So if you decide to go for Starport units, you can most definitely do that, but it is going to be a commitment. If you enjoyed this video and you haven't already, hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button as well, so you will be the very first one to get a notification when I upload new videos. And other than that, I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, and I'll see you in the next one.